in honor of
Let me ask Rick Bucher, Fox Sports One and Bleacher Report. Buke, Bucks, Lakers, Clippers. They've all dropped one so far in the bubble. Who, if you were to cut open your brain and say, give me all honesty, who you're most concerned about, who would it be?
It would still be the Lakers. Look, the Clippers and the energy or the lack of energy that they played with. I'm astonished that they're still sleepwalking a little bit. I've seen them play much better defense than they did against Dallas. I think if the Clippers play their best, as good as Doncic is, as much improved as Porzingis is, the Clippers simply have too much. But I'm beginning to question, do they have the leadership to bring that team together, since we're working on a shorter timeline? But no, the Lakers and what LeBron has to do in order for that team to beat the Blazers is it's a lot. There's a lot on his shoulders, and there are unknowns. You're asking Anthony Davis to be a factor in the playoffs, which with the right matchups he has been, with the wrong matchups he has not been. And I just have way more questions about the Lakers and whether they can recapture what they were during the regular season than the Clippers or the Bucks.
Rick, when you look at this Clippers issue of leadership, I look at that huddle and I'm like, all right, the chips are. Everything's falling away from them. They're struggling. They've been outplayed in almost every quarter against the Mavs. Who speaks up in that locker room as the leader? We know it's not Paul George. He followed Kawhi to the Clippers. He hasn't gotten out of the first round in 6 years. Can it be Patrick Beverley, a role player? Lou Williams is a veteran, and this guy's going to a strip club when he leaves the bubble. And Kawhi's not a talker. So who is that guy who's pounding the table? We know it's LeBron for the Lakers. Who is it for the Clippers?
No, it's a great question. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know who's going to speak up and get it done. And we're going to find out whether it's Pat Bev, whether it's, it's hard to see that it's a Montrezl Harrell. Those guys have the personality to speak up, but I don't know if they have the status within that team. And that is, I would think that while we don't think of Kawhi as a talker, in circumstances like that, it would be Kawhi who would have to speak and pull guys together. But that's why I raised the question, because we're at the point now where somebody needs to gather them, and we'll see who that is.
Rick Bucher joining us, Fox Sports 1, and, of course, Bleacher Report, long time covering the NBA. Sound a little groggy there, like a little bubble wine hangover? What's going on there, Buke?
No. Just a little froggy. As you know, we have California fires everywhere, and we're seeing some of it in our area. So right. Our quality of air is not great right now.
Okay, welcome to Southern California. As you Northern Californians think you guys always have it better. We send our regards to everybody who's fighting those fires out there. I mean, that stuff is terrible. Rick Bucher joining us. Okay, Buke, there's LeBron said there's some sort of something intricate in terms of what's off with their team chemistry. Okay, so what's the deal there? Is it? I mean, I know they're pissed at Avery Bradley. They can never say so because somebody says family, and you're like, all right, whatever. But want to win a championship. I know they're mad there, but that couldn't be. It's got to be something. What else is it that makes this thing not feel as wholesome as it should be?
Well, look, there are guys that you would expect to step up and be bigger factors than they are, and they're also not going to call out Anthony Davis and playing a bigger role. But the fact of the matter is, he's the second most talented player on that team, and he's not stepping up, I think, the way that LeBron expected him to. And I'm going to date myself here, but I think of and this is going back a ways, but this just instantly came to mind. Elton Brand was very similar in that he was not a leader. He was a talented player, but he was not a leader. But when he got together with Sam Cassell, he had his greatest success. I'd say Carmelo Anthony with Chauncey Billups, and now with Damian Lillard. Like, certain guys may not be the fire starter, but once you start the fire, they will join in and they'll start throwing wood on it. And we are not seeing that from Anthony Davis. Now, I don't know if that's what LeBron is talking about, but that's what I see as a crisis in confidence with this team, which is this guy's really talented. He's had a big year in AD, and now we're at the most crucial time of the year. And I don't care what the numbers say. He is playing in a really passive way at a time where they need him to step up and be aggressive.
I wonder, Rick, if LeBron can be like, yo, we brought you here because you're a primetime player. We don't, I mean, at some point, the Lakers have to get sick of this fading away on everything, this whole, I don't want to play center. I mean, it's the playoffs. Anthony Davis was 2 for 15 outside of the restricted area in game 1. I mean, Rick, that's just absolutely not going to cut it. I mean, I'm on board saying this is one of these pound the table days for LeBron where he says, guys, I don't fall behind 0-2. There's no room for error here. You know, everybody's on a short leash. You know, we're going to see Dion Waiters here. We may see J.R. Smith. Alex Caruso pulling himself out of the game with 5 minutes left. This stuff is inexcusable. And I got to figure LeBron shows up tonight and the Lakers win. Would you agree?
I would think so, but this has always been mystifying to me. I would have thought that LeBron James would have grabbed the game by the throat in the final minute or two in game 1 and brought it home. And we're coming down and we're just running plays and we're not taking threes, which was essential, and we're getting switches, and he's got Damian Lillard on him. And
what's he doing?
What you wanted?
What is it?
Exactly.
What is he doing? Listen, I understand the passing and getting everybody else involved most of the game. Okay, and this has been the thing with LeBron for the entirety of his career, and at times in Cleveland, just out of necessity, he was, especially late in his run in Cleveland, was like, "F it, I'll just do it myself." Right? But like you point out, they come out of a timeout, they're down 5. And they run a simple ball screen because the idea is Damian Lillard doesn't play defense. He's too small for LeBron James. They get a switch, and he passes it to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who drives in and shoots a layup that doesn't hit rim, right? Like, that's on LeBron. Like, LeBron drives in there, and he's at the rim, and he kicks out to Alex Caruso, who can't shoot. And he's right at the rim. Go finish, get fouled, make a free throw or two, get an and one. Like, it was almost reverting to passive LeBron, and that was still a very winnable game. That's the thing. That game still could have been won had he taken over, despite the fact his teammates let him down shooting the basketball.
Yeah, well, and in both cases, with AD and with LeBron, and Jason, I don't know if I can blame you for this, but I'd like to, but I don't know if I can, is that people have anointed them as being certain things when they have not proven that. Like, everybody talks about AD. I still hear it as of right now. They're talking about him being one of the top 5 players in the league. You can be a top 5 talent and not be a top 5 player. A top 5 player utilizes his talent. A top 5 playing in the clutch, delivering in the clutch is, in my mind, part of what makes you top 5. I don't care about talent. There's a ton of talented players that have come and gone. And AD has a wealth of talent, but he hasn't applied it to its fullest extent in a lot of circumstances. And LeBron being I always hear like his intelligence, his IQ, it's all this, and I'm like, if you don't apply it in game situations, the making the right basketball play because you're swinging it to somebody who's open for a second. I'm not asking Alex Caruso to win me the game. I'm not asking Kyle Kuzma to win me the game. I'm not asking Kyle Korver, as good of a shooter as he is, to hit a shot in the finals that's going to be semi-contested when you, LeBron, are 6 feet from the basket. That's not a good basketball play in NBA terms. And yet there are a ton of people out there who will defend the decisions made by both of those players. And that's what I blame, because I really believe that when people turn the heat up on LeBron going all the way back to Cleveland, the first iteration in Cleveland, when they turned the heat up and said, oh, but he's not a championship player, that's what forced him to go to Miami and learn how to be a championship player. And I feel as if collectively we don't do enough of that. And as a result, some of our biggest talents don't maximize who they are because we find ways to look at, and I'm hearing it with other players now on other teams. Joel Embiid, he doesn't have a point guard who can get him the ball in the right situations. And I'm like, the dude's not in shape. He's a monster in the first quarter. Why is he a monster in the fourth quarter? It's not because he's not getting the ball. It's because he's too tired to get position, and he's not asking for the ball because he's fatigued.
Yeah, I don't want to act like I'm killing the Lakers here. They did lead by 6 a couple times in the fourth. We're talking about a tie game with like 3 minutes left. And listen, Anthony Davis, Rick, last time he had a playoff series, I think he swept Portland and Damian Lillard. Like, it was an impressive showing.
No. See, here we go. Rajon Rondo and Drew Holiday were the fire starters and the leader in that. And Anthony Davis had a matchup with Yusuf Nurkic that he fully exploied.
Yeah, he averaged like 31 and 13 in that series.
But let's not say, yeah, okay. But the numbers, look, this is how Tony Parker ends up being a Finals MVP in 2007 over Tim Duncan, because he was matched up with Boobie Gibson and he put up huge numbers. Tim Duncan is and always will be the MVP of any game that he and Tony Parker played in. There wasn't a game where Tim Duncan wasn't the guy that you game plan for and didn't have the bigger influence. But because people looked at numbers and said, oh, wow, Tony Parker, boy, he lit it up, he ended up being Finals MVP.
Yeah, certainly Mirotic was very good in that series. He averaged like 18 a game, 46% on threes. But I'm not killing Anthony Davis. I just thought it was a disappointing game.
We all saw the exact same thing. Let me get to the Bucks, because I think one of the guys you're alluding to in terms of us making kind of excuses for is Giannis.
Yep.
And I just don't think he can shoot, and I don't think you can win it all if your best player can't shoot. And he's part of me likes the fact that he's going to keep taking him, because at some point you got to guard him. But part of me is like, you're taking shot. It's the inopportune threes when you don't need to. And, there's just a difference in regular season and postseason basketball. Although the officiating hasn't been as lax as it usually is, it'll probably get more and more physical. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are now that we've seen the Bucks lose a game.
I feel as if, everybody's put this emphasis that Giannis has to develop a three, and if he develops a three, watch out. It's over. And I'm thinking, I've got enough three-point shooters on that Milwaukee team. What I need him to develop is ability to score in the mid-range from the free throw line down.
Right.
So that
we skipped that, Rick. We skipped that in our. They want everybody to be the Brook Lopez, which you go from a back to the basket player to being a three-point shooter.
Yeah, well, but it's, for me, the function of Giannis as the best player on that team and the go-to and the playmaker is I need him a step away from the rim, and if you're going to trap me or you're not going to let me get to the rim, you're going to put that much emphasis on me, I'm just going to raise up, I'm going to hit that mid-range. Or if you're going to crowd me like that, then I've got somebody wide open on the perimeter who can hit a three and who's been hitting his three their entire career.
Right.
Giannis, putting him out at the three-point line and the emphasis on that is, honestly, it seems insane to me. Like, he's so dangerous near the basket. Like, why would we do that? Or why would we put an emphasis, or why would we think that if he can shoot a three, now suddenly that's the answer for what's going to make the Milwaukee Bucks unbeatable? To me, it's playing in that pinch post, in that mid post, and drawing attention there, and that's going to allow him to either be lethal as a scorer or it's going to open everybody else up. And again, this is where the conversation about what teams have to do and as a result, what excuses we make for guys who aren't getting it done just seems so cockeyed to me at times.
Luka or Giannis, you're starting an NBA team right now. Who do you want?
As of right now, I'd have to go Doncic.
Yeah. 3-0, clean sweep, Doug.
It's not just that. It's his skill set will last longer, and I think have a bigger impact.
If we would have asked this pre-bubble, Rick, I wonder if it would have been 3-0 Giannis.
Well.
MVP and Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, well, you know what? But I don't. The whole MVP thing. I just.
This to me, Buke. I'm going to help you out here. I actually think, and look, I don't think neither of us have anything bad to say about the place we used to work, but I think the MVP discussion becoming such a big part of everything is merely a creation of ESPN to generate some sort of interest in regular season games that most people aren't actually interested in. I truly believe that. Like I've done this for a long time. It's only the last 5 or 6 years that people really, really seem to care about the MVP. It's never necessarily been the best player in the league. It's been, who wins the championship, and how do they play against the other great players. That's how. That's what. Last thing, LeBron. There's some that are making explanation or excuses. Hey, it's so different without fans. Joe Varden, who covered him in Cleveland's like LeBron's really affected by not having fans. My point is, okay, but so is everybody else.
Yeah.
What are you now that we've seen playoff bubble basketball? How is it different?
Well, look, I think role players, the depth of your team is, and the internal enthusiasm of your team, those things matter in a much greater way. But we're seeing a lot of guys that normally playing in a hostile environment, playing under the pressure of the playoffs in big games, you either wouldn't look to them or they wouldn't play the same way. They wouldn't play as freely as they have. And I think that's one of the things where you see where, like Gary Trent Jr., okay, he's got the personality, but it's also like that entire team is okay with him taking a three with the game on the line. I don't know if that would be the same feeling if we were playing in Staples Center for either one. So I think we see more of that. Again, LeBron's explanation that the bubble is what's screwing over the Lakers. You're playing against a Portland team whose home court advantage, who's the crowd and the atmosphere up there is better than Staples Center.
Right.
So, and we had 8 teams lose their first game, and there was only one that talked about the bubble, and it's the team that supposedly has 2 of the top 5 players in the league, and both of those players talked about the bubble, that they can't play. They can't play without fans.
Right.
I mean, what is? You're asking me to explain something that hurts my head. I can't explain it. Like what is? I mean, we could get into the psychology of LeBron and AD and everything else, but to me, they're excuses, and they're not very good ones.
Awesome stuff, Buke. Enjoy the hoops. It'll be on all day. We'll discuss it, and we'll read your work in Bleacher Report. See you on Fox Sports 1. Thanks for joining us.